Hey guys, you're watching Daniel and Gian talk shit, and today is Wednesday, September 23rd.
Yep.
September 23rd. We are recording at 7:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and been a crazy week and a half since last time recorded. This weekend that Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. She was on the Supreme Court for the longest time. I think she probably should have retired 20 years ago, but she stayed on because she kind of saw where the country was headed. With all the crazy stuff that's happening in this country right now, it couldn't have happened at a worse time, especially right before the presidential election, especially with the Supreme Court already kind of leaning, not already, kind of, like definitely leaning more conservative than liberal in terms of policy making. Ironically enough, Obama, towards the end of his last term, tried to nominate, or he did nominate, a SCOTUS
a year outside of the election.
And the Republicans they blocked it. Basically, they completely blocked it. Didn't let it happen, stating that, hey, you're a lame duck president. You know, you shouldn't be allowed to do this.
It's too soon. It's too soon to replace someone like Scalia a year out.
Right.
We need to wait for the next president.
Right. Exactly. But I guess they're feeling confident about Trump winning this election because they're trying to push their Supreme Court nominee right through.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. They have the majority. There's nothing that can be done to stop them from pushing it forward, regardless if Trump wins or not. So, based on that, those are the facts, right? No opinions have been given so far about the current situation. But let me ask you something. Do you feel that the government should pause due to a death like this? And I'm not referring to last time or this time, like just in general. Do you feel like when a justice dies, that I'm not saying the number one priority, but kind of like the number one priority should be to replace them, as soon as possible in a quick fashion?
I mean, to be completely honest with you, I'm not knowledgeable at all about exactly what they do and how long it takes for their decisions to go through, and I feel like maybe if there was like some like really crazy thing on the docket that they were overseeing, that maybe you need to push it through. But if there's nothing going on that they're going to affect at the immediately,
That's a good point. I don't know what their schedule is either. Like you're saying, if they have nothing until December or something, then is it important to do it now? Probably not, right?
Right. So that's the way I kind of look at it. But at the same time, it's like another thing. Like I see a lot of people like posting, like, I mean, we'll get to just how nasty people are, but I really, I sound really ignorant right now, but I really don't know what the utmost importance of the Supreme Court justices is. I know
what do you mean
a lot
by
of
that?
like the amendments to the Constitution and stuff. They're usually involved with that, but other than that, like obviously it's something important enough where the Republicans want to push it through as quickly as possible.
Well, I mean, the Supreme Court upholds the law and rules in on the laws, whatever laws there are. Whether that's like, I'm just making this up, traffic stop traps,
Right.
Maybe there's a law that says that, and then it finds its way all the way to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court's the one who decides, no, traffic stop trap lights are illegal or something. And then now there's a precedent from the Supreme Court dictating basically across the land that is, in fact, illegal, just like abortion or all these other things. Like right now, the big docket is apparently the Trump administration already has a case filed, and it will be heard regarding the Obamacare, and how it's basically unconstitutional. So like that's something that they'll weigh in on and decide, oh, it's unconstitutional that they force people to subscribe to this model or whatever, and then boom, it basically nullifies Obamacare. It takes it out.
Right.
Just an example, and not just talking to you, just to anyone out there listening that may not know. I'm conflicted. On one hand, I think that the government should fill the seat. I really do. I do. But if we're going off precedents here, there clearly was a precedent set, the last time. So
Yeah.
if a year is too long, then a month is definitely too short, or you know what I meant. Like
Absolutely.
So it kind of has to be a fair is fair type situation here. Now you could play the rules, you could play the game, because that's what they're doing. That's not a game. That's what it is. Those are the laws, and that's the process. And like I said, I do believe that it should be filled, but I don't think it's very. Well, see, it's funny because why do I hold all these congressmen to high standard anyway? They're all fucking pathetic, like pieces of shit, all of them.
They really are. And I think the problem
every single one of them.
This position should not be partisan at all. Like the people, I feel like
it's impossible for it to not to be because of our country, though.
Right, exactly, and that's the problem with this all. But
no, the biggest problem is term limits. There shouldn't be a fucking justice serving on the Supreme Court for 75 fucking years. It shouldn't be that way. I'm with like 20 years, 25 tops maybe, because you got to think, how disconnected do you become? Dude, I'm disconnected from like my cousin who's like not even 10 years younger than me. He's not even close to that, He's 18, 19, and I'm like, I feel disconnected from his generation, and just from listening to music, just like musical taste, or what's funny, or like what's TikTok, and I know what TikTok is, but I don't use it, but I know that's totally what the big thing, you know what I mean? So
yeah, part of that also has to do with like technology just has moved so fast in the last 10 years that
which makes my point even more relevant, I think, because these judges get older,
especially if they're ruling on stuff like that. Yeah, I see what your point is.
Just in general, I just believe in term limits in general. If the president can only have 8 years, there's just too many people who don't. The problem with the lack of term limits, not just for Supreme Court, but for any Congress, people in the government, is just they have too much power over not just the current generation but future generations. It really does influence a lot of things.
Decisions that they make today.
Like Mitch McConnell should not be in his position. Mitch McConnell should be retired somewhere out in the pasture, or an advisor like somewhere. He should not be his role. He should not be in the Senate. He shouldn't be.
Pasture.
Yeah, put him out to pasture. Same thing with fucking what's her name, Nancy Pelosi. Put her out to pasture too. Like it's not a Democrat Republican thing. I'm just tired of seeing these lifetime. They're not in their lifetime, but they're pretty much in their lifetime. It's not. I don't. It's just annoying. And of course, there's rules. There's ways around it. Oh, it's like, Casino, the movie with De Niro, right? What was De Niro? He was the head of the cashier, whatever, and then he was the head of the concessions, and then he was the head of the whatever, and that's all because he couldn't be the owner of the casino, but he kept moving around all these different positions because he still had the influence. I mean, I'm sure if Mitch McConnell had term limits, he would go serve somewhere else in the government, right? And that's kind of like what sucks about the whole thing. But I was just curious your opinion about that and just what they should do. But now, what do you think they should do now, though? Do you think they should right now, like with the current situation? Where do you stand on it?
I mean, I think if they did it to Obama, they should do the same thing to Trump, especially because it's not even a year out. The election's
2 months,
a month
3
away.
months.
Oh
yeah, a month. Yeah, it's already October. You're right.
Yeah, we're pretty much so like a month and a half away. Definitely shouldn't be something that's pushed through. Considering he might not be the president, and he probably is going to win. Who knows? I mean, we'll see really, when they finally have a debate, depending on how.
Which I would like to do a live stream
senile.
For that. I would love to do a live stream for that, where we do a live reaction to the debates. Because it's going to be comedy hour.
Yeah. This time more than ever.
I'm still standing by the fact that I'm not voting this year. So.
I mean, if you're not voting though, like.
I shouldn't have a say. We shouldn't be talking about any of this.
Right. Exactly.
No, it's true. 100%. I'm the first one to say it because I've said it before in the past. I just, every time I look at that Biden-Harris ticket, it just makes me cringe. It really does. It really does. When you think about where we were at the beginning of this year until where we are now, the fact that Kamala Harris is the VP for Joe Biden, it just blows my frickin' mind. It really does. It makes no sense. It kind of makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. Like I was like kind of like the last time we talked about this was a few weeks ago. And I was kind of like, okay, maybe it's the best thing for Joe, blah, blah, blah. I was like trying to be optimistic because I try to at least be optimistic about some things. But it's just every time I see Kamal's face, I'm like, people were so against her 6 months ago, 7 months ago, whatever. They were on the rally of like, yeah, Tulsi just blew her shit up. They sank her battleship, da-da-da-da-da. Like, and now all of a sudden, I mean, I can't verify this, but I'm going to assume that people are on Kamala's, like, bandwagon because of the Biden bandwagon. Maybe if you live in, like, the Bay, they're not, but, you know what I mean?
I just think people just really want to defeat Trump, so they're finally kind of coming around to it because they're like, there's no other. It's the only option you got, right? I mean, not. It's not the only option you got, but
that's what's annoying. It's not the only option you have.
But I mean, the problem is, whoever's running independent, nobody's building like a really like awesome campaign.
Bernie would have been that guy, and where did he end up? He got fucked twice.
The only time in my lifetime that I can remember that an independent ran a semi-successful campaign was Ross Perot. I believe that was 92? It was either 88 or 92.
It was right before I was born, so around there.
So it was 88 then. And that guy was a billionaire, so he was funding his own campaign. And he came close, and then he kind of dropped out at the very end. I mean, I don't remember the particulars, but he was like a Texas oil guy.
People in his life started dying mysteriously.
Could be something like that. I mean, I was really young.
No, I'm just
as
kidding.
well. But in my lifetime, that's the only independent I know that's like ran any sort of successful ticket. And I think at the final tally too, he got quite a few votes. I mean, he didn't get any electoral votes, but he got a large percentage. I mean, you could look it up to see what he did. I think the problem with him too was that he dropped out of the race and then he came back in like a month before.
Either way, there's just no third option. That's really what it comes down to. There's 1992 presidential campaign.
I thought it was 92. Okay.
Yeah. Perot received. Oh no, this is in Maine. He received 18.9% of the popular vote, but no electoral college. No, just yeah.
No, I'm saying that's substantial.
That's a lot for an independent.
Yeah. Had somebody taken 19% of the votes in this last election.
I mean, that's like Bernie.
Yeah.
Basically, there were so many people running against Bernie this year that, like, the votes were just splintered out.
Right?
They just went elsewhere.
Right.
They just. I'm not saying they would have voted for Bernie, but there's no denying Bernie got screwed over. And very, very quickly, I don't want to talk about this too much because I know next week we will be, because the Breonna Taylor results are the court. What's it called? Not decision, but the charges were released about what happened with Breonna Taylor. She's the one who died in her apartment, and it didn't look good, quote unquote. I use quotes because obviously the courts determined this, and it's just because of all of our tension with the public that police aren't allowed to do their jobs, basically, right? So I say all that to say, people are probably going to riot tonight. There's probably going to be some very interesting shit that goes on today. So this is going to be a topic of discussion for next week and stuff. But I'm bringing this up because I brought up Bernie.
Hope not.
I sure hope not too. But to be honest, I kind of hope to. I don't really give a shit. It's because it's not going anywhere. This tension has to get let out somewhere. It has to. It's not going anywhere. But Bernie, since we're talking about Bernie for a second. He's kind of to blame for all this, huh?
What do you mean?
Revolution campaign, like we got to bring the revolution. I mean,
So you think that Bernie is the inspiration
I think inadvertently.
for a lot of the civil unrest?
I think potentially inadvertently, because if we're to
I don't know.
believe,
I don't know if black people were behind Bernie from jump. You know what I mean? I feel like he was kind of they were kind of on the fence with him too.
well, let me ask you this: how many videos? Well, maybe you don't watch them as much as I do, but how many videos involving the protesters, uh, who Trump labels as Antifa? I'm not gonna do that because I don't fucking know. I really don't. I think it's naive to say like they are definitely Antifa, but they're definitely not like just peaceful protesters. How many of those people are black that you've seen?
This is true.
Not many. Not many.
It's always some like skinny white dude
So
with a bike lock.
So that guy is either was probably a Bernie bro or something like that, or he potentially could be like how you and I like to suspect that they're plants, which apparently is a part of the narrative now. I was listening to Trump speak yesterday in front of, I don't know where he was at, Missouri or Pennsylvania or something, and he was saying how you remember those bricks that they would leave, like.
Yeah.
There'd just be a random pile of bricks that just happen to get used to thrown for the looting and all that stuff.
Let me guess, it was George Soros.
No, he was being sarcastic about, oh, that's our fault, this and that. Like it's all our fault. Don't forget, we're the ones who plant the bricks. Like he's aware of all of this talk. He's aware of and he just leans right into it. And so it's like
he loves it. He loves
I know.
it.
I could tell. It's just but anyway, I didn't want to talk too much about Bernie, but it did make me think, like, the dude called for revolution all the time, and I love Bernie. I like it, but people are naive and they don't understand. This is exactly how revolutions start. 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
1,000%. This is how civil wars begin.
Peaceful protests don't work. They've never worked. Somebody gets messed up one way or the other.
Peaceful
could be
could
be like even the civil rights movement, like
getting eaten by dogs, getting hosed, getting lynched. That's
exactly.
Not peaceful.
There was violence on one side of that, even if it wasn't on the side of the protesters. So, I mean, this is just it's a part of all of it, and it's weak. But like, let's just hope that this week is pretty smooth, because I really don't want to go through another non-COVID related lockdown. I really don't want to.
Which I've never experienced in my life, other than after George Floyd died. That's the first time I've ever had a curfew, a mandatory curfew.
6 p.m. curfews. The stores had to shut down. You couldn't even go to the grocery store. So it was like, yeah, I'm good. I mean, I think they were shutting down restaurants too.
Well, to be fair, you and I have talked about this offline, but nothing's really gone to L.A. And I'm not going to put any words in your mouth, but the high population of Mexicans probably has something to do with that here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, definitely.
There's not a lot of Mexicans in Seattle, and there's not a lot of Mexicans in Portland either. There's definitely a lot of white people.
Not the same amount as there are down here, for sure.
So, but anyway,
Latinos in general.
To go back to Ruth, it sucks that she died. She was older. I'm surprised she lasted as long as she did. And I just feel like, on one hand,
she was fighting a good fight. She was trying to hang on.
She really did. She knew too.
She was trying to make it pat through the election, but
that's not how life works.
No.
So it's just like I said, I'm conflicted.
Like Hercules, you got those 3 blind ladies that pull your string and then cut your string. And when they cut your string, it's a wrap.
That's it. That's a wrap. And then allegedly her dying words were like, I hope they don't feel this Trump? Or something. Yeah, that'd be badass. Like on Instagram, she goes live.
Yeah.
This is it, folks. And fuck Trump.
Yeah. I can see the light. Fuck Trump.
The phone drops, like that's it. Dude, that'd be hilarious. But yeah, the government shouldn't stop, but at the same time, I think you gotta play the game fair. But this just lets you know that the game has never been played fair. And if the Democrats were in this situation, and they had the majority right now, and someone died, you think they wouldn't be fucking trying to put a Supreme Court justice in? Come on, let's not be let's not be dumb here. I will say
Naive.
though, I will say that Trump has done a lot in these last 4 years. Well, that'll have lasting effects. He's appointed 3. This will be 3 Supreme Court justices in his first term.
Wow.
This will be the 3rd one, which is just, that's pretty huge for the party that he wasn't even a part of until a few years ago, because he's a businessman, and I think deep down he doesn't give a shit about red or blue. He cares about green, and that's it.
About his own green, too, not the country's green.
Yep. But anyway, to more sad news, to jump from this topic to another topic. I'll let you take the lead on this.
Some more sad news. So if you've been watching and you've noticed I keep looking down and fidgeting, it's because I was trying to get the armor. Trying to get the armor up for this gentleman right here. And that's Road Warrior Animal, who passed away this morning. He's one half of the legendary pro wrestling tag team, the Road Warriors. They were Legion of Doom for a little bit in when they came back to WWF. Yeah, it's really sad. He was only 60 years old. Relatively young for the world we live in nowadays. And I don't know, it's sad because it's it's unexpected. I feel like we prepare ourselves better when we find out someone's sick, they got cancer or something. But knowing what this guy put in his body, and what his body, steroids and stuff. He was a really huge, really big bodybuilder. Although if you look at his body, he was not as jacked as his partner who died 17 years ago at 45 years old. You know what I mean? So I don't think he did the same thing, but probably died of a heart attack. I don't know what he passed away of. But R.I.P. 10. They do the 10 ring salute at the wrestling events.
He died in Margaritaville.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wow. Was it
Hopefully
Vegas or in Florida?
He in Missouri.
Oh, he died at a restaurant?
10 days after... No, it's a resort. 10 days after his 60th birthday at the Margaritaville Resort in Osage Beach, Missouri. He
Not
died
the
yesterday.
place I'd want to go at, but...
Hey, man, maybe he won. Maybe he won big and just couldn't handle it. I don't know. Or maybe he lost it all. I mean, it's just... You never know.
Right.
I can say that he was... both of the Road... They were before my time, like, in terms of, like, prominence, I feel like. But I definitely remember watching them because they were in the Attitude Era. And then I don't remember this correctly. I might be wrong, but I feel like they were in WCW too. Yeah. Because I remember that as well.
So they started in like NWA and AWA, like all the territories before WWF turned it into what it is now, WWE now. And they were huge. They were like, for being a tag team, they were one of the biggest draws ever. They even had a term coined after them. They called it the Road Warrior Pop. And that's when like the audience was so loud and so crazy that you were over. Like you were so over. And that's how over they were, that they got their own like catchphrase coined after them. The biggest tag team ever. And they were on par at one point with Ric Flair, with your Hulk Hogan's. With your Stone Cold Steve Austins and your Rocks. Obviously this was 10 years before those two guys got big, but that's how big these guys were. That's how much money they were drawing. They're really expensive tag team. They never lost 1, 2, 3. It was always, if they lost, it was a disqualification or an interference, something like that. It was never a clean finish. Like they like to call it. A clean finish is you get slammed, you get DDT'd, you get whatever.
You get finished properly.
You get finished. 1, 2, 3 with a pin.
pinned.
Yeah, but if you get so it was never a clean finish. It'd be a chair when the referee wasn't looking. Stuff like that. Cheating had to be involved to beat these guys, because if they lost, you could see a potential riot, because a lot of people don't. I mean, younger people don't understand that until the early 90s, most of the population thought that wrestling was real.
That would be me.
And all the entertainers,
I mean, I was
all the wrestlers,
5.
they did kayfabe. They call it kayfabe, where they're pretending that it's real. They would never break character when they're out in public. So even if you were friends, like let's say Ric Flair was always a heel, even if Ric Flair's friends with Sting, who was a face most of his career, they would never be seen in public together because they needed to keep the kayfabe going. And things would happen where if your favorite wrestler lost, people would fucking riot. People would tear a fucking arena down. They would throw chairs into the ring. They would throw beers. Like, people would get, like, attacked all the time. Like, there's stories where if a bad guy won, if a heel won, it was always like, get the fuck out of the stadium as quickly as possible, because if not, you will be attacked by someone in the ring because they thought it was real. And for me, that's something that I think is, I love that that's how it was, and I miss it, and I wish it was still like that, because it was different. It was different watching it, and you were just so much more involved with the product.
100%.
Even though, and even people that knew, like, there's something weird about this, because it would never look like a real fight.
No one ever fights that way.
Yes, exactly.
But it was WWE. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I thought it was wrestling. Like, I remember when Ken Shamrock went to UFC, I'm like, oh, he's gonna beat everybody up because it's Ken Shamrock at WWE. He's you know what I mean? Like,
right, the most dangerous man in the world. Yep.
And so when he won the championship or whatever, he did well in the UFC. I'm like, yeah, see, I knew it. All these guys were like, yeah, I knew it. Little did I know that he had all this background that I had no idea he had. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And if you put, Ken Shamrock prime now against anybody in the UFC, he might not stand up so well. In my opinion, I don't know, but. I'm just saying, like, I thought he was skilled then, and realistically, no one really was back then, except for like, a very small handful of people.
I mean,
compared to today,
today it's a completely different sport whatsoever, yes. And it's like you can't. It's not fair to judge them because you don't know what Hoist Gracie or Ken Shamrock would do had they been training with modern standards.
100%. And it's like Joe Louis is the black boxer, right? The champion.
The bronze bomber, yes, sir.
Yeah. It's like comparing him versus like someone, Deontay or something. Their workout regimens,
Deontay's the bronze bomber.
The workouts are completely different. They didn't lift weights like they do. It's completely different. Or like a. Anyway, but yeah, I remember them I remember them because they have the best costume for a tag team. Just recognizable right off the bat. They look badass. The Road Warrior, so of course you got to think of the Mad Max movies because they're pretty much inspired from that.
Just look at that. Look at these dope ass spiked.
I always felt like they were gonna kill somebody.
The face paint.
I felt like they were gonna kill someone every time. Like, they just would get those spikes and just drop someone on them or something. It would never happen, but I'm saying, like, some Mortal Kombat shit.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, I mean, it sucks when all these people go.
Often imitated, never duplicated. When they were in the NWA territories, when WWF was trying to take over, what did Vince McMahon do? He came out with Demolition. 2 guys in face paint wearing armor and stuff, and I hope we're throwing these pictures up. I hope that... No, I mean, one of the big things, too, is, like, Axe and Smash were fat fucks. There were these 2 big, sloppy fucking dudes, whereas Hawk and Animal were jacked, just probably juiced to the gills, just cut, huge, super muscular bodybuilder guys that were athletic. Axe and Smash were good workers, but they're bad bodies. They were traditional wrestlers, like that old school. Like when you watch a movie, it's just a big guy.
I'm looking at
hands.
I'm looking at the picture right now on the screen, dude. This is like some BDSM shit right here. Like compared to Road Warrior, where it's like these are Road Warrior. Well, like they're gonna fuck you up. These guys look like they're gonna tie you up and whip you, and not in like a punishment way. I mean,
right.
In a Rob Halford way, it's a better way to say it.
Oh boy. And then they left. When they left, I want to say when they left, or it was was either when they left to WCW, because they came into WWF. They were never part of WWF until the late 80s, early 90s, and Vince brought him in because Vince has this ego thing where he has to like feel like he was part of the creative process, so he changed them from Road Warriors to Legion of Doom. And then they changed the pads so they had the red pads, and that's probably what you saw was with the red shoulder pads instead of the black pads and the red pants, or like the red boots, excuse me. But they were like Road Warrior Legion of Doom. They were still like Road Warrior Hawk, Road Warrior Animal because they own the rights to that. But the team name in WWF was Legion of Doom. And then they left, and then Vince brought in two big guys, Conan and Warlord, and they called them the Powers of Pain. And if you look at them, same gimmick. Face paint on the eyes. They're wearing armor to the ring. Like totally, like spiked wristbands and everything, totally trying to make it look like them, but not exactly. To the point where if you find some of these toys of the Powers of Pain and you don't look closely, you think, oh, it's the Road Warriors. And then you look back and you're like, oh, wait a second, that's not the Road Warriors. It's some cheap ripoff. And it was around the same time, I guess. But
with the dude from their manager was the dude from James Bond.
I think Mr. Fuji, yeah.
Not the dude from James Bond. I'm just. But he pretty much was the dude from James Bond.
He wasn't Random Task or whatever.
Yeah, there's just no comparison between the two because they're wearing like Nightwing face paint. You know, they don't have like they don't have the armor. It's more of the leather like BDSM type look. It's just not the same. It's not the same.
And they had a team finisher, but anyways. You know, we could talk about this all day. Joey was here. We could spend 3 hours on it, but rest in peace.
Maybe one day,
John.
He'll come on.
Rest in peace, Joe Laurinatis, aka Animal. What else is on the docket today, sir?
Well, you wanted to talk about. I mean, there's some nerd stuff I want to talk about with the PlayStation and the Xbox, but you wanted to talk about the NFL and your personal stories regarding your job with the NFL.
I got a job. I did this job last year with the NFL where I'm doing digital ad insertion for people watching the games on the streaming services, and we're doing it remote, which is a whole story in itself. But we're doing the orientation, and I see 3 panels where they're talking about the NFL like enrichment program or whatever. So they have an African American coalition. They got an Asian American coalition, and they got an LGBTQ one. You know which one they didn't have?
White coalition.
No, that's called the NFL.
What Asians are in the NFL?
Not many.
Are there more Hispanics? Many. Maybe Aaron Hernandez fucked it up for us, bro.
Maybe they're trying to distance themselves.
Maybe Aaron Hernandez fucked it all up for us. We were there, and then Aaron just fucked it up.
When they brought that up, I was like, man, I didn't realize we were doing so good. The President of the United States ran a whole campaign about deporting people. And,
you know what it is? The Mexicans are the ones who they do all the upkeep for the fields, so they must feel like they've already achieved their diversity requirements there.
That's how they get the majority of the jobs. It's hilarious.
And who's working concessions?
Anyways, just a little quick little snippet there. I don't want to turn it into a thing, but I found it interesting. I'm not a big fan of the Oppression Olympics, which I feel like that's a big event that's going on right now. I see so many people fighting with each other about.
It's not every 4 years either.
No, it's not every 4 years.
It's daily. It's all the time.
Yeah. I think it would be it'd be a bit hypocritical for me to jump in and start talking about what about me, what about us, So I don't want to do that. I think it's annoying. I'm more along the lines of everybody should unite.
When do you think our time will come?
When we impregnate every single person in this country. Until everybody's half being of some sort.
In other news, this week was crazy for different reasons, or the last kind of 2 weeks, because PS5 and the new Xbox both released online, and it was a shit show. You had no idea the PlayStation 5 was going to come out at all. I mean, maybe you knew it was coming out, but I mean, the specific release date, because I texted you because apparently what happened was, for those who don't know, PS5, Sony had a conference, and they were going to announce when the PlayStation was going to be available to be sold at the end of the conference. And, well, not everybody was on board because companies like Walmart and Best Buy and places like that, they released the console early, Target. And so they completely neglected to follow Sony's guidelines, and they released the console a day early. Now, I got wind of this, I don't know how, but I texted Gian saying, hey, look, PS5s are going for $1,000 on eBay. You might want to pick one up. I plan to pick one up. And Gian was able to grab one, and I wasn't, because in that time they sold out. Because that's how fast they were going. And I tried a few times on different other websites, and the very next day, which is when they were going to officially release it, no dice. And everything was crashed. Everything was just, blowing up. And like I said, they're going for $1,000+ on eBay right now, just the pre-orders. And then Microsoft came out and said, well, we're not going to do what Sony does. We're also going to have a conference, but you're going to know when it's going to be released and all of this stuff, and so there's no hiccups. And that was Tuesday at 8 a.m. I woke up, did my thing, and I thought I wasn't going to get one because I refreshed it once on Target, clicked on it, I had other pages open too, all sold out. Within like the first, 15 seconds, it was all gone. And I just happened to keep refreshing and trying to do the checkout process, even though it kept saying sold out, and I got an Xbox. So it's just an interesting time for that stuff, because normally, if things were open, more people would be going to the stores to pre-order these things. Because that's how it usually is. People go in the stores to buy these things and to put their money down or whatever, or at least that's how it was 5 years ago.
People used to camp out.
Right.
Used to camp out
exactly
for to sign up for the console. But now, maybe it might 100% be because of COVID. Like, everyone has moved to online ordering. You guys know. I mean, I'm surrounded by toys right now, but ordering toys right now has been a pain in the ass because they drop exclusives. Everything's online. Like, I paid $50 today just to get early access to the Hasbro convention exclusives. $50 just to order them online, because tomorrow there's going to be so many people trying to get the same items I'm probably not going to get them. So paid an extra $50, which I'll make back. I'll recuperate once I sell the items. But it's just crazy. Everything's going that way, and it's what's funny is across the board, Walmart didn't have this online ordering process. Now they do. It's a fucking mess. Target has it. It's a fucking mess. I think actually the only reason why I was able to get the PlayStation on Target and you weren't is because I have the Target app. I was already signed in. My money.
You already deal with Target a bunch of bullshit already.
Yeah.
And so you could basically say, okay, I'll get it.
So, and I think you sent me the link, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I don't even think you sent. I clicked the link. I went to the app. I pressed order. Boom, done. I was done in 2 seconds. Everything was ready to go. There was no entering in. And this is a tip. And I shouldn't tell you guys this trade secrets, but if you're trying to order stuff online, the best thing for you to do is already be logged in to whatever app you're using or whatever service. So if you have a Target account, be logged in, have your payment ready to go. So all you have to do is press one button and click.
Now, there is an asterisk to that, because I did do that for Walmart and Target before I bought the Xbox. And Walmart specifically made you re-sign in during the checkout process.
Oh, wow.
So I was already logged in. I had already done everything. They made me re-sign in to verify that I was basically going to buy this. And in that time it took me to type everything in, it was sold out, which is what pissed me off the most. But that was for the Xbox. But eventually I got it, so it didn't really matter.
Right.
It's an interesting time for consoles, though, because this is the first time where consoles are actually on par with what is on a PC right now, in terms of at least the graphics card, which is, the new graphics cards. Those are the brand new graphics cards came out last week as well. I know you're not a PC guy, but I just upgraded I just bought a $1,200 graphics card, which 2 months ago was the top best graphics card you could buy, pretty much.
Now it's obsolete.
It's not obsolete, because that's not the way graphics cards works. Fortunately, thank God. But had I built my computer today, well, I still wouldn't have gotten the new cards, because they sold out in a few seconds, because people actually paid for bots, scripted bots, to go out and clear all of these websites. And now, I'm just gonna go on eBay just to see what it is right now, because I haven't even looked. Just to give you so they cost.
Well, and the bots. The bots are a problem with Target and Walmart as well, because Target and Walmart don't make you do captchas. So
they just go right through. Boom.
Yeah, when people found out that Target and Walmart were carrying exclusives, they got their bots ready and they clear out everything. Normally gets sold out on either of them in 1 minute. It's just like shoes. Like people that get exclusive shoes, they pay for bots, to enter into these contests. I mean, I guess with the shoes it's a little different. Like it's a random raffle. So you buy a bot so that it enters you as many times as possible to up your chances of getting selected. And that's how they get the shoes. Because like, while you and I are assholes typing in our information to get maybe one entrance, other people are getting 3,000 different entrances going in, or raffle tickets going in because of the bots for these fucking sneakers. But
okay, so the basic, the quote unquote basic, there's no such thing for these cards because they are very high end. Costs $6.99. That's the base model for this new series of graphics cards. What do you think they're going for on eBay right now?
I'm gonna say double. I'm gonna say $1,200.
$1,529, $1,500. Yep, $1,500, $1,500, $1,600, $1,500. Wow. And these are all cards that cost less than $700, and those are those aren't even the higher end one. That's just the base model. I don't even really want to look at what the higher ones are at. That's how crazy it is right now. But it's also kind of COVID. I mean, it's like one of my friends said, he doesn't even consider these cards to have launched yet, even though they have, because that's how little chance people actually had to buy the damn thing.
Right.
So
you're not that behind because only scalpers are picking them up and reselling them.
Yeah, exactly. The high-end card, the card that I probably would have got had I had the money, was $1,400, and that card's going for $2,500, $2,700, $4,200, $2,800. So I mean, people made money off these cards, for sure,
absolutely,
because people are buying them. If you're in the market for a $1,500 graphics card, you probably can pay $2,500 for it. Would I? Hell no. Even if I had that, like I said, if I was building the computer right now, I would not pay $2,700 for that graphics card. Is it worth it? Yes. Would I pay for it? No.
I mean, look, this is coming from me. I'm not a big visual guy when it comes to the difference. I remember, and this is not the same. I know this is not the same at all. I remember when Xbox One dropped, and PS4 dropped, and I was still playing Call of Duty on PS3. And then I went and played Call of Duty on PS4. And the visual difference, there was a difference, but it was so minute where I was like, I don't need to upgrade yet. And obviously this is like the console just dropped, so this is probably they just up converted a little bit, that the same game they already made. They weren't going to make a whole new graphic panel or whatever they have to do for the games to be. But I could not, and even now, I still can't really see that much of a difference between the PS3 to the PS4. With these graphic cards, how far can you go with the visual eye? I mean, we talk about it with cameras, you get to a 12K camera, there's a certain point where the human eye is just not, can't see past it.
Huge difference to answer your question. Like, if anything, I can play a game. Let's just use Call of Duty. Let's say it was Call of Duty Modern Warfare, because that was on PS3, right? And you probably were playing it back in the day. If there was a PC version of that at that time, it would look 2 or 3 times as good. I mean, genuinely. Because it's just the way... There's no spec limits. There's no anything on a PC versus a console, which is like... The console was made at the highest end specs, quote unquote, but they had to, at a certain point during this whole console process, they obviously couldn't jump too far ahead in the future because that technology doesn't exist. So by the time the console comes out, the tech is usually already outdated. Just because, graphics cards are coming out all the time. Like I said, this is the first time where they're using the a more modern quote unquote graphics card to be on par with all these people. They also have done other little things too, but the purpose of a graphics card isn't just to make the graphics look good. I mean, because you're talking about night and day here. It's like how much VRAM is actually on the graphics card, so how much things it could actually do. Because we're talking about things that you might not care about, things that you might not notice, the things that are real, anti-aliasing. You have shadows, dynamic lighting, like reflections on the wall, like things like I said that might not be of care to you. But those are definitely things that these graphics cards allow you to do at like full max resolution. I mean, game consoles can't output at 4K. And now because of these new graphics cards, they can output at 8K, up to 8K, which is insane because games, like it's so hard to run your game at 4K. People don't really understand that. My computer, I think, can barely do 4K. And I have a super top-end, high-end computer.
Right.
I haven't tried it because I don't have a 4K screen, so it's worthless. But, like, it's not... 4K is very, 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 very heavy on the system. 100%. So it's just...
I mean, this is not the same, but we see it when, like, if I shoot something on my phone in 4K, which probably isn't even real 4K, and how long it takes to upload a fucking 10-minute file.
Exactly. Let alone to have something be processed live, like right now, active, like running through a hallway and having those textures like pop in and not pop in. I mean, just have them be loaded. I mean, there's a lot of other things that go into these consoles too. Like those old consoles, they didn't have SSDs, and now now SSDs are the commonplace where you're not going to have 3-minute loading screens. Things. Yeah. You play the game like The Last of Us 2 or God of War, the new God. There's no loading screens anymore. There's literally no more loading screens. It's just one continuous action narrative piece. Like God of War, they make it seem like it's just one. There's no cuts ever, even for cutscenes. Like it's just, and it's seamless. You don't see the transitions. Because back in the day, you'd be playing your game and then all of a sudden it would cut to a cutscene, and it would look 10 times as good as the game did. And it'd be all cinematic and stuff, and then you'd go back to playing your like pixelated bullshit. Now it's the gameplay looks like that. Like that's where we're at. But the graphics cards also help for production reasons too, because it's not just for gaming. It's also for handling different processes with After Effects or digital effects and all these things. So like having that amount of VRAM helps to like play 4K video files, to do because all of that stuff adds up. So. Yeah. I say all that to say the card I have is pretty future-proof because technology is not even close to getting to like where my card is at yet. Right. So, and my card is like very equivalent to these things, like the ones that have come out. Like not the new top of the line, but at least in terms of the base model, it's comparable. But anyway, that's just my thing. Because we can talk for days about the Xbox, PlayStation right now, because the Xbox has abandoned like normal pay structure. They're doing like, you could buy the console outright, but they're doing payment plans now, so you can get the new console for $30 a month, like a phone.
Damn, they're gonna be ruining people's credit.
So the thing is that the thing that people speculate is like they're trying to go to the cell phone route, and like there's gonna be a new Xbox every 2 years. Do you need it? No, but this one's going to have, this new SSD or this new this new rehousing, whatever. Only $30 a month. But here's the kicker. It also includes their Xbox Live Ultimate Pass, Game Pass thing, which is pretty cool. So you get a bunch of free games, and they're always updating and all this stuff. So, like, it's $15 a month normally.
My brother was telling me about that. Like, that my brother's an Xbox guy. Regardless, he's never... I think he owned a PS2. Or not even, I think he only owned the PS1. And then after that, he never went back to PlayStation, never went back to Sony. But he was like, with the Xbox, we're going to get the Ultimate Pass. So you could, it's included, so you're going to, for whatever amount of time. So you got all these games that you can play. And then I guess the Xbox is supposed to be backwards compatible too, where the PlayStation isn't.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's only PlayStation's only backwards compatible for like PS4 games or something. It's like, those are all the things that just.
Me personally, as someone that's just a casual gamer, and I'm barely that nowadays. Um, there's only so much time in the day. How many games are you gonna fucking play? Like even when you were in your more hardcore gaming
One.
stage.
One. I'd play one by myself. Not to answer your question, like if it
Right.
was but if it was multiplayer, you might play 2 or 3.
Right, and a lot of that's just depending on your buddy
Friends.
calling you up and yeah,
Exactly.
like hey, we're gonna hop on and get on it.
Yep.
You want to jump in, sure.
Yep.
But for the most part, like
One, two
I
games
bought
at a time.
yeah, I bought Doom Eternal, and that had me focused for quite a few hours. Not I mean I suck too, so but that helped, but that was enough game for me. Where I think I spent like a good 2 weeks on it, where that was like.
Still haven't beat it.
So no, because I couldn't. I had to stop playing and haven't been able to go back. And I had it. It's
because
games
it's
too
hard.
for
That's
me.
why.
It's like games too.
It's a hard game. I'll give you the. When you told me you're like, yeah, I'm playing on nightmare mode, like right off the jump, and I was like, okay, all right, we'll see how long that lasts. Like it's
not very long.
That's fucking hard for me at like normal mode. So. Especially when you get later on. Especially when you get like, dude, Doom's the best game of the year by far. Period. This year.
It's funny people aren't talking about it.
Well, fuck those people. Doom's the best. Doom is the best. I wish I had it on the PC because I want to visuals. I want to be able to play it in like super high frame rate too. Because that's the other thing that you have the advantage of by playing with these graphics cards. The old PlayStation games, they'd max out potentially at like 30 frames a second, maybe. And unlike film, you want higher for frame rates. You want your game to be 120 frames a second, 60 plus frames a second, because.
By the way, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm changing locations right now because my battery's about to die. So I'm gonna head back to where I normally. So don't. I don't even know if this is gonna make
no,
the cut.
It will. So
yeah, Daniel wants to make up for knocking over the camera.
Yeah, I know. I didn't today. Good. Knock on wood. Knock on my fake plywood. It did not happen today. But yeah, that frame rate matters. I mean, I remember when I played on this computer because my old computer would run like 30 frames a second. It just was that old, right? And I literally was like, something's wrong here. It's too fast. Like I feel nauseous just because I was so unused to it. But now that I am, I'm like, oh, it's great because it just gives you that little slight edge because your computer's processing these frames and it's just smooth and it makes you not want to go back to playing with controllers. I know we're talking about nerdy shit here, but like I said, I could talk about a bunch of things related to this because there's so much new technology involved that's coming out with the PlayStation 5 specifically. Like they're kind of changing the way that SSDs operate within the console. So like they actually might exceed graphically some things that the PC can do. Like it's so great for games right now. It's such a great time for video games.
I haven't like gone into the specs at all. Like I'm not unaware. I'm unaware of shit. I wasn't planning on buying either console until I'm more of like the second generation. And even then, like my Xbox One right now was my brother gave it to me as like a Christmas gift. So that's the only reason why I even have an Xbox. I bought the PS4 like I think the second or third generation. I can't even remember when I got the PS4 to be honest with you. But shit is.
Yeah, I use my PlayStation 3 as a Blu-ray player more than I actually did as a fucking game console.
Oh, that's funny thing. When I got PS3, I had knee surgery. I just lost my job. I was on workers' comp. It's actually when I moved down here from the Bay Area. So I had my dad got me an Xbox 360 for Christmas, and then my sister's boyfriend at the time was selling. He had an extra PS3, and he sold it to me because it fell off the back of a truck. So I got it real cheap. So I had both.
Allegedly,
I had both, and yeah, the PS3 for the first 6 months, I was nothing but a Blu-ray player, And then eventually, I actually had Call of Duty Modern Warfare for both consoles because I had friends on different consoles. So I would just like whoever texted me first, I would hop on, that console rather than the other one. You know. So,
oh, those are the days. Those are the good days. Those are the good old days when you'd go on Xbox Live and you'd get called the
dude.
N-word or the F-word, and within like 30 seconds, and you just
You
laugh
could-
and you just have a good time because it was funny as shit.
You could always tell like what part of the country you were playing with by the slang they were using. You know, like I knew I was in Boston when they would always be like, "You fucking douchebag, you fucking douchebag." You know, and then I'd be up at 4 a.m. playing with guys in England, and I was just, "You fucking cunt."
Yeah, you can't.
Fuck you, you fucking cunt. You know, and then they would make that. My favorite was people in England making fun of each other for their accents. Like the guy in fucking, "You from fucking Liverpool, aren't you? Well, you're from Scotland. Fuck you." Like they're maybe going back and, forth.
Both sound like fucking English.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, you guys sound exactly the same to me. But no, fucking Polians.
Those were the days. You can't do that anymore. It's so like that. Those are the golden ages.
Well, my wife won't let me nowadays, but
I loved just being in the lobby and just listening to people just talking shit. Just because that was a time when there was no such thing as doxing like there is today. There was no social media where you could find out where someone was or what they were or anything like that. So people were just, "Hey man, you ain't gonna do shit to me. It's a video game. I'm just gonna talk so much shit."
Back in my day.
Literally, back in my day, everyone was racist on video games.
Yeah.
Now, no one is. I mean, but now it's like, now it's different. Now people don't even talk. That's kind of the negative part about it is just companies kind of started to push away like from the talking on the Xbox. Like back in the day, this is back in the day. And they wanted you to do group chats and like private chats as opposed to like talking within the game, and that kind of changed everything.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't miss that. The few times I've gone online, I don't miss having some 9-year-old kid who's up at 1 a.m. for whatever reason screaming.
Well, it's not that I miss. It's just
or my favorite people would be like the one guy that has his music playing, like, and like he's sitting there fucking rapping to whatever song while he's playing, and then all of a sudden
hopefully you like that song. Otherwise,
yeah. I was like, "Fuck you!" Like he'd fucking yell out when he killed somebody. You know what I mean? Or some people would play the music so loud that like it would be peaking, so their fucking speakers like.
You hear the bass rumbles through the headset.
Yeah,
the cheap headset.
You end up fucking muting them. You hit the mute button on them because I don't want to hear this shit anymore.
Well, there's games right now that people do that. The one that I play in particular, it's called like Hold Fast.
Fortnite?
No, I don't play Fortnite. It's called Hold Fast, and it takes place in like the late 1800s, like the old style warfare. And all people do is just go on it to like troll, and like they play music or they try to LARP and they role play. So like there's people who are just like, if they're on the British team, they're trying to speak in their British. It's hilarious. It's just funny. It's hilarious to be like.
It sounds like the nerdiest game I've ever heard of in my fucking life.
It is until you actually realize it's probably a game for the alt-right, to be honest. Because that's where I saw the name Martin Luther King Jr. That's like one of the guy's gamer tags was Martin Luther King Jr., which is pretty funny.
Oh, man. Shit's hilarious to me, the people that call themselves conservative when they like the shit that comes out of their mouth is not conservative whatsoever. Like, conservative means I let me say whatever the fuck I want to without having repercussions, including racist shit.
Well, see,
and then liberals are like, everything hurts my feelings. You shouldn't say that. And I understand where both of them are coming from.
I don't think conservatives exist anymore, to be honest.
Yeah,
I just think it's right versus left. That's it. There's no center. There's no like. It's just one side or the other, and you're either against it or for it. Because I find myself saying to myself, "Fuck, am I actually like someone on the right? Like, we've had this conversation numerous times.
Yeah.
Just because I start thinking like, well, it's like I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this that the liberals are doing. Da 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 da. Like blah blah blah. But then I'm like, yeah, but I also don't agree with this that the Republicans do and this. And then I come to the conclusion, no, I'm just a normal fucking person like everybody else who doesn't agree with extreme shit, But that's not the world we live in anymore.
You're the silent majority. that everybody likes to talk about, but
It's
not
just
really.
it's just a fucking weird situation all around. I think you just really can't be yourself. I think because I think being yourself now gets you in trouble. So
Well, I think that's the problem. I think that too many people are pretending to be stuff and not being themselves, and that's why they're getting in trouble.
well,
Because it's like people, like there's people out there who everybody thinks is a fucking asshole, but then if you like spend time with them, you're like, oh, they're actually not that bad. But because their persona is an asshole,
yeah, I
because
know this.
for
I know
whatever
this.
reason,
I know this. I know this personally.
you know what I mean. So it's just a weird. The problem is we're just on the internet too much, and social media controls our lives way too much.
That's a
And
fact.
not me and you per se, but just
No,
other people. Like
everybody.
you're completely gone from social media, and I'm like 1 foot out the door. I'm pretty much only using it for promotional purposes.
To the point where I need to drop this in there real quick. I know we're been an hour, so I don't know how much longer we're gonna be recording. But speaking of like not, speaking of social media and like not being on it and this and that, recently you didn't know the person I'm gonna talk about very briefly, but someone that we did go to film school with. He was a grad student. Passed away Friday. Won't specify the how and the why and whatever. But he's a young guy, and I didn't know about it until Saturday. He passed away on Friday, and I didn't find out until Saturday. And the way I found out, the whole reason why I'm bringing this up, other than R.I.P. Thoughts and prayers to everybody out there who knew him and his family and all that stuff, because he was young and had a lot going for him, which I'll get to in a second. But the DP Saturday was actually a replacement. I texted you who I was working with. You and I, Ryan, he was in our grad editing class and things like that. He was the first one to get the black magic, if you remember,
Yeah,
way back in the day. And so, I
Ryan
see
Griswold.
Ryan Griswold, exactly. And I see him, I'm like, hey, Ryan, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while. We give each other elbows. We talking this, and that. And then he's like, it sucks. It sucks what happened with Reek. And I thought I didn't hear him properly because I'm like, what in my mind, right? Because usually
Right.
when you hear something like that, it sucks what happened to so and so. Like it's never positive, right? It's like never a good
Right.
thing. And so like my mind's like thinking of what could it be, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't been on social media in months, so I literally have no idea what you're talking about. Obviously, I'm gonna assume it's not good. What happened? And he told me what happened. I'm not gonna repeat it again. It's private. And like I was blown away because one of all of that, what I was just saying, but also like, when would I have found out had I not been on social media?
Right.
And it's not because I don't care or anything like that. It's like, it's just, when would I have found out? And I immediately texted you. I texted my friend Austin, like our friend Austin. It's just, it was just weird. And it's just weird to like.
It's like you were
how
living 20 years
how
ago. Like, look. I mean, and this is obviously it has, it's not.
yeah, I
the
found
same
out the
thing,
old
but
school way.
yeah, if it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't know 99% of anyone's birthday. So I'm saying happy birthday to people that I never talk to. Like even with social media, I don't talk to them. But if their birthday pops up on Facebook, I
It's
happy
so funny you
birthday.
say that. It's so
You
funny you
know,
say that because this year I was off social media during my birthday, right? And I was like, man, I need to go on
wonder what
social
your wall
media.
looks like.
I need to, I need to say like thank you to all these people because I'm sure I'm not saying I had like a million people telling me happy birthday, but I'm saying like I know there's like you said, there's people who see it and they post it, and I'm like, I got to at least like what, but I didn't. I'm like, no, it is what it is. I'm not on it. I'm not on it. But it's
Well,
just
if it makes you feel any better, only 16 people wished you a happy birthday on Facebook. So nobody gives a fuck about you, Danny.
that's more than normal. So screw you. That means I'm going up in the world. What are you talking about?
Oh
Um,
man.
but it's just crazy. Is my point. I did find out the old school way. Actually, the old school way would be to find out in the newspaper, because that's how my grandma would find out people she knew died. I remember like growing up, she'd be at the paper. Oh, so and so died, because their obituary would be in the obituary section
Right.
of the newspaper. So yeah, it's it's been an interesting 2 weeks. Needless to say, a lot of deaths, a lot of unexpected twists and turns, and the year's not over yet.
It's not over yet.
It's only going to be October, and we haven't even gotten to freaking Halloween yet, where you're not even supposed to be going to Halloween. I just read a report that if you get the flu and coronavirus at the same time, it's like 3 times as deadly or something. Yeah, it's like if you get both, you're pretty much screwed. So it's just, I don't even know what to say. I don't know, because it's just, I want to go to the damn movies. I can't even go to the movies still. And it's like, who knows when I'm going to go.
You can always go to Nevada and go watch the movies in Vegas.
I can go to Orange County right now. I can go to Orange County and go to San Diego, but it's like, I don't know if I want to do all that.
Oh, Orange County and San Diego movie theaters are open?
100%. Yep. 100%.
Told me that, bro. We should go hit a fucking 9 a.m. screening if they got them.
I mean, I'm down to go, but I'm just saying, and we haven't even, we're going to have to continue this next week. We're talking about box office, the fact that Tenet's made $30 million, and so apparently Tenet made more money than Mulan did with Mulan's release strategy worldwide. Again, we'll get into more details later, but Tenet made $300 million, I think, the opening weekend worldwide, and Mulan made $125 million. The numbers came out. Right. There was Yahoo did a report saying that Mulan made like $600 million opening weekend because of the Disney Plus things, and I was like, holy shit! Like everything I said about Black Widow, everything, throw that out the window. They're gonna do it, but then they changed they fixed the story because apparently they miscalculated and it was only like $123 million, which is like
that's a pretty good opening weekend.
Well, here's the thing though. Domestically, yes, but internationally that movie tanked. It did not do well in the box office. So overall, and this is what the article I was reading about it was a bad decision on both parts. It was bad for Warner Brothers to release it early, quote unquote early theatrically, without having Los Angeles and New York as the main like sources of income for the U.S. Because worldwide it did well, perfect, boom, did great. But without New York and Los Angeles, your movie's not making that much money. It's just not, because that's what's really going to get people in the theaters, honestly. If people are raving about it, got to go see it. Don't worry, AMC's safe. Don't worry, Regal Cinema's safe. Don't worry, Cinemark's safe. Like, it's great. Then people might start going.
Everything drops in LA before the rest of the country.
LA and New York, yep, 100%.
Yeah, we get early screening, so like a lot of the reviews come from there. Like, even though we talk shit about reviewers, but people still
people pay attention. People pay attention to us when I do the new movies. Not recently, but so people definitely have. But yeah, they say it's also bad for Disney because even though they made money domestically off of the Disney Plus, they made nothing internationally. So it's a wash.
How much of that has to do with people being scared to go to the movie theater?
Well, Disney pushed back Black Widow to next year and moved the whole MCU slate another year or whatever. So they're not going to be releasing the movies.
We'll talk about that in the next episode because we're running out of time here. So let's just talk about that. Let's finish this up. UFC got a big fight card this weekend.
Yes.
Izzy versus Paulo Costa. I'm gonna let you guys know right now, and you guys can fucking flame me for it later. That fight's gonna be boring as fuck. Everyone's expecting fireworks because these guys are talking shit to each other. I envision fucking Yoel Romero, Adesanya Part 2. I think Adesanya is going to keep him at a distance. Costa's going to charge a few times, get peppered, and then run out of gas, and it's just going to be this boring-ass fucking fight that Adesanya wins by decision. That's my guess, but I don't know how you feel about that fight, but I'm just saying, guys, I think I'm more excited about who else? There's another big fight.
I'm bringing up the card right now. Give me 2 seconds because I need to bring up the card to talk about it. Yes, the championship between Jan and the current champion, who's not the champion, Dominic Reyes. They're fighting for what's his name's title?
Blachowicz. Yeah, Reyes Blachowicz. I think that fight's going to be more exciting than Adesanya Costa.
We'll see. It's going to be. That's going to be that's my personal fight of the night.
That's the fight.
I think Jan's going to win. I love Jan. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think it's a bad
matchup for Reyes.
Well, I still think Reyes beat John Jones. I still think that. I think that's partly.
This is the classic. This is the classic styles make fights. You know, I think, and maybe I'm wrong. I might be completely wrong, and maybe Reyes blitzes Blachowicz. But my opinion on it is John Jones' lack of finishing power is what kept Reyes around and in the fight. You know,
Jan has that finishing power.
Yes, which is actually something new. If you look at his fight history, like he didn't start knocking people out to the last 4 or 5 fights. So it's interesting that he's all of a sudden been on the streak of finishing people, and sometimes it happens like later in your career, like something clicks where all of a sudden you figure out how to get a little more pop behind your punches. But I feel like some of those blows that Reyes was taking from Jones, he can't afford to do that with Blachowicz. So who knows? I expect it to be back and forth because Reyes obviously is motivated because he thought, and most people think he beat Jones in that last fight. He hasn't been in the cage in a while. Blachowicz has been calling out people for the last fucking year. So they're both motivated. They want this title. John Jones is done with light heavyweight. So this ain't interim. This is for the real strap.
This is for the real one.
It's gonna be.
And as I said before, he is Mr. Wolfenstein. There's a reason why I like I don't even see. It's funny because I don't even call him by his name because for me he's
Blachowicz.
He's Blachowicz. That's the guy in
that's where
in Wolfenstein who's on the screen right now. BJ Blachowicz. I call him Blachowicz, Jan Blachowicz, because, and I mean that as a compliment, because if you ever played that game, they look identical. They literally look the same. They're just two big. I mean, I don't know if Jan's Jewish, but BJ is. But they just look like two dudes who just fuck you up for reals. I want to comment on one thing though, based on everything you said. Well, who do you think's gonna win, Dominic or Jan? Who do you think? Make that pick.
I've been saying since they announced it that Jan's gonna win.
All right, so we're both Jan, and then you think Israel is gonna win Paulo Costa.
I think he's gonna win 5-round boring decision.
So I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I think that there is a high probability that if the fight goes past 3 rounds, that yes, he will get tired. Paulo Costa will get tired because if UFC just released the fight that we watched, we did a fight companion for him versus Yoel Romero, and there was no slow staying your distance bullshit. Paulo went forward the entire time, 100%, until he started to kind of get tired in the 3rd round. And Yoel was right there with him the whole time. As a matter of fact, Yoel fought, actually, that fight as opposed to the last one. Here's the thing that I will say about Israel. Obviously he's a great striker. He can move. He's a kickboxer, so he knows how to strike. He knows how to do that stuff. I don't know if he can take a shot, though, from Paulo Costa. I don't know. I really don't. Because Paulo dropped Yoel Romero twice in that fight. Yeah. So it's like, it's going to be interesting. Because I think Paulo is not going to stay outside. I don't think he's going to do that. That's why I'm saying all this. I think he will tire out potentially. I don't think he'll just stay back.
If he studied the Gastelum fight, when Izzy fought Gastelum, which another controversial decision, I think a lot of people think that Gastelum won that fight as well.
I'd have to watch it again. It was pretty back and forth. But, Gastelum did get dropped multiple times.
I mean, from all accounts, it was a great fight.
100%.
But what I'm saying is that Gastelum's a smaller guy, shorter guy, and he was able to get in on Izzy multiple times. So, if is Costa going to do the same thing? Does he have the same kind of footwork that Gastelum had in that fight? I think that's the game plan you want to go after because Costa's just a naturally bigger guy than Gastelum, and I'm gonna assume that his power is bigger than Gastelum because Gastelum definitely hurt Izzy in that fight as well. If he's able to get through, you might be right, And Izzy has been knocked out, not in MMA, but he got knocked out in kickboxing.
100%. Not in MMA,
so
but
it's not like
it's possible.
Yeah. It's possible. It's not like he's got this iron chin, So who knows? But I just think, like I said, we have that Yoel Romero fight. We know what happened there. and I could see something similar happening. And
But I kind of blame that
that's where
Yoel
my
Romero
prediction
fight
comes
on
from.
Yoel Romero. Not to continue the conversation, but I really do. If you really watch that fight again, which I tried to and I turned it off, it's like Yoel just literally, remember the first minute he just stood there, or that was a few minutes. He was just standing there, literally just standing there. He didn't move at all. He just stood there like this.
Well, and then hear me out, and this is why I think it is. What's going to make it different is that Paulo's going to come in charging.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He's going to get peppered with counter shots.
Yeah.
And then after he gets peppered numerous times, he's going to start stalling the way Romero did. I feel like Romero, for whatever reason, his head space was fucked up that night. He just wasn't engaging.
And he never uses his wrestling.
Yeah. Well, but that's a... I feel like there's no 50-50 with wrestlers. It's the same thing. They're either 100% wrestling, like Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. That's what they do. They take you down. They hold you up against a cage. Or it's guys like Tyron Woodley, another D1 wrestler who never uses it either. He's just using his wrestling to make sure that he keeps you standing so he can try to knock you out with one shot.
Well, Yoel did use wrestling for Paulo Costa.
Justin Gaethje is the same way. Justin Gaethje is a Division I wrestler. How many times have you seen him go for a takedown?
Well, see, that's what's going to be great about him versus Khabib, because now he can actually – he has the mental knowledge to combat Khabib's wrestling potentially, or at least put up a better fight naturally by virtue of him being a wrestler for however long, Because I thought Conor did not the worst. He still lost. He still got submitted.
Everybody that watches that remembers Conor fight the first time, the only thing they remember is Conor tapping out. If you rewatch that fight, Conor won a round. He's the first guy to win a round against Khabib. Well, that's debatable because there's a Brazilian guy that the Khabib fought at the beginning of his UFC run that a lot of people thought beat Khabib. I thought he beat Khabib then, but I haven't rewatched that fight in years either. I can't remember the guy's name, but that's neither here nor there. Conor won a fucking round against Khabib in that fucking fight.
He cheated. He cheated. He definitely was holding gloves and doing all that stuff. But, what's the saying?
Hey, man, fucking Ed Short Fuse Herman cheated like a motherfucker to choke out fucking black dude that was beating the fuck out of him last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you watched that fight, the fucking Slow Mike Hernandez or whatever.
Is that the prelims? I didn't see the prelims.
I think it was on the main card.
Oh,
I think it was
maybe
on
I
the main
missed
card.
it. Like
Slow Mike Hernandez was beating the fuck out of Ed Herman. Ed Herman faked getting a nut shot when he got hit with a kick to the gut that knocked him out. That would have ended the fight. The ref thought it was a nut shot and gave him 5 minutes to recover. They go to the third round. Slow Mike's beating the fuck out of him again. That gets him to the ground, and then Ed Herman does a fucking reversal by digging his toes into the cage to twist him over and gets him in a...
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's basically my point. He got him in some...
a W is a W.
Yeah, it was some. It wasn't a Darce choke. It was some fucking crazy choke that people rarely pull off, and he pulled it off and tapped him out. No, it was an omoplata, I think. Yeah, because I think dude's shoulder was gone.
I must have missed that because I just watched the Colby fight. So if it was on the main card, I missed it. I don't think
it wasn't on that. It wasn't on that card. It was two cards ago.
Oh, okay. Then maybe I just don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've watched too much.
I'm just saying. Cheating or not, that's the name of the game. You know what I mean?
It is.
Astros are World Series champions. So
don't even gotta tell me that.
So, anyway, bringing up Colby. We were talking on the phone. Tyron Woodley definitely needs to retire. That guy's he's done.
Just really take a huge drop in the rankings. He should not be fighting anyone within the top 10 in my opinion.
Yeah, he needs to work his way back up. He's a gatekeeper now, and if you're fucking almost 40 and a gatekeeper, it's time to hang up the boots or hang up your gloves.
Because he has not honestly, he hasn't been exciting for years.
Well, he's never been exciting.
Yeah, so
he's never been excited. Like when Kamaru beat him, I was happy, and then now I'm just as disappointed because he's just as bad as Tyron Woodley in his fights.
Got replaced with someone who's just as bad.
Yeah, just as bad. The most exciting fight of Kamaru Usman's life was against Colby Covington, where neither of them had the fucking power to finish each other until the very end, and only for a debatable early stoppage because Colby's jaw was broken because he got punched when his mouth was open.
And he wasn't even, and he didn't even quit either. So arguably he could have kept going, and he would have kept going. But you wanted to talk about Colby's post-fight interview because...
Yeah, so apparently, so here the comments are, and I'll send you the link so you can post the quotes up. But so he went on a rant about basically anti-Black Lives Matter. He said he's standing up. He's talking shit about Tyron Woodley. He's standing up for lifelong criminals. The Black Lives Matter is a complete sham. It's a joke. They're taking these people that are complete terrorists. They're taking these people that are criminals. And then he said he called him a communist. He's a Marxist. He stands for criminals. He hates America, and that's why he got broke tonight. You know, I don't. That doesn't sound racist to me, but the world we live in, if you're anti-BLM, you're racist. I mean, that's, you know. But then what he did say was Kamaru Usman and his little tribe sending smoke signals to each other.
See,
now, okay.
Let me just say this, and I said this before we started recording. I don't care what Colby says right now, because Colby already ruined the. We were talking about wrestling earlier, and what's it called, kayfabe or whatever? What's it called?
Kayfabe.
Yeah. Colby was 100% a participant in that, up until he basically exposed himself and said, "No, this is all work. It's all a game. It's all whatever, right?" And up until that point, he was saying some crazy ass shit. We were like, "Holy crap!" And then he was kind of putting his fist where his mouth was. He was showing up in the ring and he was putting in the work. He won the interim champ. He is the current interim champ. Regardless of how the UFC fucked him out of it, it doesn't matter. He did win that championship. And every fight since then, he's been putting in work. You can't talk bad about his performance in the octagon, regardless of who you are. Doesn't matter. Kamaru can say, "I broke your jaw," this, and that, whatever. But I'm sorry, he put up a fight against Kamaru. You know what I mean? They fought. They didn't wrestle. They didn't do anything.
He was arguably winning that fight until the fifth round.
And so, and he mollywopped Tyron. He manhandled him. You know, so I mean, let's not make it seem like he isn't worth his weight in gold in terms of as a fighter. But once he revealed himself as this sham, quote unquote, in terms of like his presentation and stuff, everything he said to me went out the door. So like the fact that he said the smokescreen thing, he's just trying to rile people up. He's just saying that because he knows it is going to be offensive for some people. So does he really mean that? I don't think so. I don't know though, but I think it's all a work. And to be honest, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I just don't. I genuinely do not. The reason why I don't take offense to it and all this stuff is because at the end of the day, they're gonna fight in the octagon. They're genuinely going to fight. They're going to fight. If Kamaru feels the way he does and he wants to represent Black Lives Matter like Tyron did, because that's what he did in his pre-fight conference, he just, every question they asked him, he just said Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, which is why Colby even brought this up. You know, it's like, cool, let him do it. Let him talk to shit. Let Kamaru beat his ass. Let everyone beat it.
See, that some of the fighters are upset with what's going on, and I think, and I kind of see where they're coming from. Look, for the longest time, the only reason why people tuned in to see Floyd Mayweather fight was because they were hoping he would lose, and they were hoping that this is the fight that he loses. People didn't tune in to see Floyd Mayweather because they liked his fighting. They tuned in because they didn't like him as a person, and they wanted to see someone beat his ass.
Black people tuned in because they liked his fighting.
Some, not across the board. Plenty of black people not fans of Floyd Mayweather. They're fans of other fighters that he quote unquote ducked over the years.
Are you saying that people like Colby though? They want to see him win?
I'm saying what's problematic about Colby in his comments is that yes, even though his original intent was to play the heel and have everybody booing him and getting pissed off, we have enough people in this country now who what he's saying like mobilizes them. It fuels them, and they're like, yeah, fuck yeah. You tell them fuck just like them smoke. Go back to their goddamn village back in Africa. You know what I mean? Like there's people that are like excited about that shit, and they not only they think it's funny, they think it's true.
Okay,
you know,
but
fuck
see,
Black Lives Matter.
but
There's a lot of people out there that are.
Does that mean that I can't enjoy it?
I mean, you can enjoy it, sure, but I'm saying you also got to identify why it's problematic and why it's a little different than the traditional heel. Ric Flair would get heat. Rowdy Roddy Piper would get heat. He would get the entire arena screaming, booing, angry, united against him and rooting for whoever the face was. Rooting for Hulk Hogan, rooting for Magnum TA, rooting for Sting. You know, fuck my wrestling knowledge right now. My face is out the window. But that's getting heat. The best wrestlers were always the heels because they were able to manipulate the crowd. And I think with Colby, he's not manipulating the crowd so much. He's turning the crowd against each other. He's starting a riot within each other. They're not trying to attack him. They might start attacking each other.
If there was people in the stands right now when he beat Tyron and he said what he said after the fight, like, and just threw his mic out, like, the president's gonna kick your ass on on November 3rd, this and that, whatever. Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, you're gonna have fights in the stands. And is that a problem? I think so. But from the UFC's perspective, publicity's publicity, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a business, and it's tough. It's tough. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm not saying that saying smokestacks and going back to Africa is not offensive, because it is offensive. I'm not saying that it's not. I never once said that. I kind of said, like, is it okay if I don't think it is, or whatever I said. I was joking. But it's like I said, does that mean I can't enjoy it? Does that mean, because I'm not subscribed to Colby or like retweet. I mean, I think I am following Colby on Twitter. I'm also following Trump too, so it's like, but it's just the audacity that some people have to just say that crap. I get off on it, I guess.
I feel like you're a bit of an anarchist at heart. I think that's what it really comes down to. You enjoy the chaos to a certain extent from the confines, the safe confines.
From the safety of my home, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, I'm not saying this to people. Fuck, I would not say this to anybody. Are you kidding me? But watching someone else say, because it works both ways too. It works both ways. It's not just if a liberal comes out and just shits all over like Colby because of whatever, you know, they find out he has a small dick or something, and then someone just goes at what, I don't know, I'm making it all up. I don't know that's what I'm saying. He's white. It's hard to combat him, but like if Kamaru beats the fuck out of Colby, I'm not gonna be sad, you know. If Colby fights the dude with the beard who's beating everybody in like 5 seconds, if they fight each other,
Chimaev.
And yeah, if he beats Colby in like 5 seconds and literally smashes his face in, I'm not gonna like cry or be angry or whatever, you know. If he gets an extra punch after he gets knocked out and the ref calls it off, I'm not gonna like, you know, cry over spilt milk here, but
right.
I'm not encouraging him to say this in any way. I don't know the guy personally. He's gonna say this shit regardless. I'm just a fan, and you know what it is? I grew up in the Attitude Era. Just tie it all back to wrestling real quick, because what was going on in the Attitude Era? That exact type of stuff. Not exactly, but kinda. There was definitely some racist shit going on that would totally get canceled today in the WWE Raw Attitude Era.
I think what made the Attitude Era so popular was because it was real again.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that we thought the fighting in the ring was real, but the promos they were cutting on each other was real, and we knew it.
Dude, I thought
they didn't like each other.
I thought Paul Bearer or whatever his name is died and got buried alive. Like, I thought there was I thought all these things really happened. I thought Vince McMahon got killed when, didn't he get hit by a car or something? Like, I thought all of these things. Oh, tune in next week. So I literally was grown to enjoy people like Colby, and then growing up with trolling and online internet pranks and the Uptar, that's one of my favorite pranks, and it was like this Indian prank call. Like, it's hilarious. I still think it's hilarious, but it's a Chappelle show. I mean, I grew up with this type of rhetoric of back and forth humor, right? I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that, like, this is not something new. It's not like this is the first time I've ever heard that before. So it's just
It's
like,
not new. It's just a different world.
it is just it is a different world.
We're at an hour and 45 minutes. We didn't even get into Joe Rogan. We'll talk about Joe Rogan on the next one.
Good, I'm glad. I just kept talking, so we didn't.
Ha! Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for watching. You know the drill. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Ring the bell if you already are. If you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps the channel grow. It helps expose us to other people. Maybe we can replace Joe Rogan since he moved over to Spotify and we'll be the new iTunes king. Probably not, but do what you can. Spread the word. Let other people know about this podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.